Good evening from PLUGHITZ Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we are here with episode 555 of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, for Sunday, March 22nd, 2020. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, Instagram is trying to disappear, GameStop is trying to stay around, and entertainment companies are trying to help. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat, our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Mixer, Twitch, Periscope, YouTube, or Facebook, on a podcatcher such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, or a myriad of other options, on the radio, or on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are now 3 ways that you can do that. The first is you can always join us Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern and chat with us live in the studio by going to f5live.tv/join us. There you can give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. The second way is through 88.1 WMLD radio in the New York area or through their website Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. Or, of course, you can always go to our website, PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe, and there you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, the Piltch Point, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, which is still publishing a ton of CES content and a whole lot more. And, of course, you'll find all the different ways that you can connect with us there. And with that, Avram, this has been a weird week.
Yeah, I was, wasn't sure if I was going to make it home in time for the show. I'm kidding. I haven't left here in at least 8 days, 9 days, something like that. Yeah, I can't even make an excuse anymore. Sorry, I was out of the house. It inspired me to clean my office a little bit. But yeah, it's it is certainly a trying time for everyone in the world right now and everyone in the United States. And I just feel very fortunate to still have a job, B, have a job that I love to do and can do from home. There's a lot of people in America and around the world who can't say that. They can't work from home, or their job just disappeared, or whatever. So, I can't complain about the inconvenience of being in my house. I'm just, worried about what the future holds for everybody, including the tech world. When you have not only have so many sick people, but you also have so many businesses closing down, and the ripple effect of that. I was just, every few minutes, another thing occurs to me, well, what about this? What are these people going to do? Or what is this going to do? One thing I was thinking about is, who in their right mind, I could be wrong here, who in their right mind is buying a new smartphone right now?
Right.
You're at home. Granted, we all use our smartphones in the house, but it's not really going to, unless mine's broken, it's not really going to inspire me. And if mine did break, at least here in New York, where they've shuttered all non-essential businesses, I'm going to assume that the phone store is a non-essential business.
Right.
So I don't think I'll be able to, if I drop my phone on the floor or something, I guess I could order a new one. But you just have to think about all the little things that could, that you sort of depend on being there,
right,
day to day, that wouldn't be there. I'm wearing my glasses. If I sit on my glasses and I break them, the place that I go to have my glasses fixed, probably not going to be open, so I'll not be able to see,
That'll
for
make
however
things
many
easier.
weeks or months. I'll be like Velma from Scooby-Doo. Actually, I have my old prescription here, so that's what I would probably go to.
Right.
But
And I was thinking
it
the same
certainly
thing.
calls attention.
I was thinking the same thing with the phone is, maybe, for a lot of people, you've got an older one lying around. You have to switch to an older one. But that's going to make people realize that older devices still work.
Right. Well, I think certainly people are not going to be inspired to buy a new one.
Yeah.
Like, unless they need it, right? Like you're not, a few months ago, I was thinking, hey, I might want to get a Galaxy S20 when it comes out because I'd like to be able to take better photos. And gee, I think I use my phone to take pictures when I go to trade shows like Computex.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure I have the best quality pictures in time for Computex. I sincerely doubt that. I don't think they've officially canceled Computex yet, but I sincerely doubt I'm going to be going.
Yeah.
Or I think they probably will cancel it. But so, it's just all kinds of things. But listen, at Tom's Hardware, we're doing what we can to stay on top of all the new technology news. And there is new technology news. There are new products coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope people will buy them. I mean, certainly for the world of desktops, like this should be a great time to get a new desktop or to build a new desktop.
Yeah.
Because you're not going anywhere for a while. So
very true.
And you maybe want to get a new laptop because I mean a lot of people use laptops as their primary PC, and you want a better computer. One thing you and I were just talking about briefly before, but for our listeners, did you know that there's been a run on webcams, especially Logitech webcams, which are the industry leaders by far?
That concept obviously at some point makes sense. You're like, well, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. But for those of us who have been, around the industry this long, we just take for granted that, I've got several of them just laying around not doing anything in here. I got a C910.
Bar the door.
I got a C910 that I can see from here.
Bar the door. The thing is, I guess that a lot of people didn't have an external webcam. They were maybe people decided that they don't want to rely on let's say there are people who hadn't been normally working from home before. Mm-hmm. They're dialing into meetings. Maybe they wanted something better quality than the crappy camera on their on their work computer. Maybe businesses are buying them for them and saying like, we need to make sure people have good quality video because I mean, let's be honest, even the best laptop webcam I've seen is really terrible in comparison to what's normally a $50 webcam.
Right.
So, like the Logitech C920, but you will be hard pressed to find a Logitech webcam, even the low end ones, for sale anywhere, not sold out anywhere. The only, we did a story on this just yesterday, and you can buy now, and for the most part, it involves going to eBay. The Razer Kio was available at least at the time we published on Amazon, but you have to wait till mid-April to have it shipped. So that, and for those not familiar with the Razer Kio, is a pretty decent webcam. Mm-hmm. It's the only webcam I've seen that has a light built into it, so you can actually have it like light your face, and the quality is almost on par with like a Logitech C920 or C930, which are really the gold standard. So, that's these are some of the interesting tech things going on. Now, another interesting tech story that's going on is folding at home, mm-hmm. which we talked about last week. But I want to remind folks that Tom's Hardware, my day job, we're doing a fold off. That means we're competing with our colleagues at Anantech to see who can score the most points in a 1 month period, which is underway right now in folding at home. So please, if you have some spare computing cycles, or really everybody does, you don't need to. You can just have it operate on your computer when it's idle. If you download Folding at Home, and we have an article about how to download it and join our team on tomshardware.com, and you make sure that when you sign up for Folding at Home, or if you're already on Folding at Home and you can enter a team number, that you enter 40051, which is the Tom's Hardware team, 40051. Help us do medical research. Help us help medical researchers researching treatments for the coronavirus and other diseases like cancer, and also help us beat AnonTech, because last I checked, they were ahead of us.
No.
Granted, whoever loses, everybody wins, because we're contributing to projects that are hopefully helping. And we had a story up just today about how Folding at Home, with all of the new signups, has become like one of the world's largest supercomputers.
Nice.
I mean, if you think of all the distributed computers coming together, it has become one of the great supercomputers of the world now. So, and we will have some stories up also on Tom's Hardware this week, if you're competitive, on how to actually get the highest scores in Folding at Home. Like what CPU gives, does AMD or Intel do better? We believe, but we have to test it, that Linux actually gives you a significant boost over Windows on the same computer. Things to keep in mind.
I will point out that my Intel-powered computers have received more compute blocks than my AMD-powered computers have. I don't know what that means, but just thought that was interesting.
It might be a coincidence.
It might be that my Intel ones are stronger computers, because the AMD ones outside of this room are my lower powered ones, so it might be that.
I don't know how it picks. That would actually be an interesting story if I could get some information about that. Believe it or not, I've actually been able to email a little bit with the guy who's in charge of Folding at Home.
Wow.
So yeah, it was very, busy but nice and accessible. We asked him, is there a way that we could benchmark it, because it's hard to benchmark something that's given out so randomly. And he put us in touch with a technical contact who gave us like a fake workload that we could run offline, so that we can actually do an apples to apples comparison between platforms.
That's cool.
So I could write to him and see if there's if they have any kind of explanation that they're willing to share or can share about how they divvy out workload. Does it have anything to do with detecting what type of hardware you have, or the IP address, or I don't know.
Interesting.
Some folks seem to be having hours where they get nothing, and then I log on and I get stuff right away, so I have no idea.
One of my computers seems to always be running, and one of them seems to be kind of up in the air. So I don't know, but the one that's always running seems to run most of its workload off the GPU, not off the CPU. So that might factor in too. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's all interesting, isn't it? No idea. But let's get down to some news now. This week's Nifty Gifties and F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for new technology to help with your new work from home environment, or you're looking for some new entertainment, maybe through an Xbox One, some new games, even VR and AR hardware, the Microsoft Store has all of it and has a lot of deals running right now where you can save up to $200 on a Surface Pro 7, $300 on a Surface Laptop 3, and a whole lot more. And if you are an active student or military, you get discounts on almost everything in the store. You can find out about all of that by going to f5live.tv/Microsoft. So obviously we've talked a lot over the last, year and a half about how messaging seems to have become a weird focus industry within the tech space. There's all kinds of messaging apps, and even things that aren't messaging apps have been putting a lot of resources behind messaging services, including Facebook, who announced a year or so ago that they were working to integrate their three primary platforms, being Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, and to kind of rethink the way that messaging works on the platform. They've been working on that both to and against the likes of the government. But this week, something interesting came out. A reverse engineering expert named Jane Wong took the newest version of Instagram for Android and pulled it apart, looked at the code, and found a feature that had not been announced or released that was only denoted with the Speak No Evil monkey emoji. And when she got into that, she discovered that it was a feature for a dark mode, a disappearing messages feature. So she dug into it, put together a virtual demo on the technology, posted it to Twitter, and Instagram responded and said, yes, that's something that nobody's supposed to know about. We've been working on it internally and are not ready for the world to test it just yet. So obviously that's Snapchat, and it's far from the first time that Facebook has snatched a feature wholesale out of Snapchat's playbook. Stories, for example. Basically, since they offered to purchase the company in 2014 for $3 billion. Yes, $3 billion. That's triple what they paid for Instagram. And Snapchat said, no, go away. Facebook has done everything in their power to try and compete or to steal things wholesale. There was the service Slingshot that was Facebook's attempt at Snapchat that lasted less than a year. But it's definitely interesting that this thing is in the active release code base. Do you think that means that there's a small group of people who do have access to this, Avram? Maybe just employees that are using it on the network?
Maybe. I think sometimes when you're rolling out code, maybe you roll out something that, you rolled out part of it might have been a mistake. Maybe they rolled out, maybe they put it there and it's well, it doesn't work, right? Or she didn't have the ability to test it, right? So,
oh no, theoretically it absolutely works. There's UI behind it and everything. Which is why I'm thinking that maybe they're testing it internally. And so, some employees have a published version of it that works, which is why the code base is in the published version. But it's definitely weird that you would publish something that's not available to anybody. That would normally be in a different build.
Yeah, that's not particularly great version control on their part.
Unless there are people in the wild who are using it on the published version. In that case, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not unusual for Facebook to build a feature and then never actually release it. we've seen that on all of their platforms. They've put time into features, and then they're like, you know what, we really don't care, and it never it never sees the light of day. But the idea that this is in the published out in the wild code suggests to me that this one will probably see the light of day. What we don't know is when, A, and B, we don't know what disappearing messages means. What she saw was that when you leave the app or when you leave the messages are gone. But what does that mean? Right? Does that mean that it's just gone from the device? Do they also purge it from the server? Because, in the early days of Snapchat, people who didn't understand what was going on thought that it was being purged from the server, and turns out, nope, only from your device. So how is Instagram handling this? And on top of that, what's the likelihood that they'll tell us? It's Facebook. They're a little black boxy on stuff like that.
I mean, it's interesting. So it makes me think that they might add this feature, that they likely will add this feature. Maybe they even want, maybe this is a really stealthy marketing plan. Maybe they were hoping, because they responded to it, right? So maybe
the corporate communications department responded to it publicly on Twitter.
So maybe they're trying to build up anticipation. Now, I don't know. I guess I'm not a big Instagram user, and I'm certainly not a Snapchat user. I don't know why it would be so exciting, such an exciting feature to achieve basically parity with an existing service. So unless there's some really compelling reason that this is better than what's out there, I'm not really sure why this would be a buzzworthy feature. But let's keep in mind that Apple thought it was really compelling that they added copy and paste to iOS, as if they had invented copy and paste. So
true. Yeah, that's true. Or when they gave you the ability to send the photos that you took.
Right, exactly. So who knows whether maybe they're just happy. Maybe they think people who are Instagram fans will be excited by this. I'm not in that group, so I can't say. I don't totally. I'll be honest. I never really totally understood the Snapchat feature of sending somebody a photo that goes away, because I'm sure that there's ways to hack that, and Snapchat, I believe, even still has it on their server somewhere.
Yes, they do.
Right. So it's a lie, right? Like, I mean, I don't know, because I have not really tried it, but can you not take a screenshot of your device on your device when you get the picture?
You absolutely can. And it took Snapchat.
So it
took Snapchat a very long time to realize that was a possibility. I don't know why, but whatever. And now they send the other person a notification if you've screenshotted the picture.
But they can't stop you.
Correct.
They just send someone a notification.
Correct. And in fairness, there was a really great interview with one of the founders of Snapchat a couple of years ago, where he explained the reasoning behind the platform, and it wasn't at all what it turned out to be. It was more about like a moment in time, a snapshot of time, as opposed to a constant feed of thing, which was Instagram, which is an interesting idea. And they never thought about the idea of people thinking, oh, well, things are going to disappear. That would be perfect for illicit content, which is why it doesn't get purged off the servers. So as the intention and the usage diverged significantly, Snapchat had to respond to that with things like notifying you on a screenshot, things like that, because that was not at all what they thought the platform was going to be for, which is so funny because anybody who's ever used the internet would have heard the idea and gone, well, I know what that's going to be used for.
Right, exactly. Well, I really I don't know what to say. I mean, are there a lot of people on Instagram who want to put up things and have them disappear right away? I don't know.
Right away, right away, I don't know, but certainly Stories is a 24-hour automatic time bomb, right? Which they stole right off of Snapchat, and then it started to show up everywhere. Facebook's got it, and Messenger has it, which I find fascinating. And then YouTube's got a Stories thing now. Everybody ripped that off of Snapchat pretty hard. I guess if you're the company with ideas, good or bad, doesn't matter. But ideas, I guess people are going to rip them off. I think that's just the nature of how it works, but you just have to do it better, right? That's the thing. If you can continue to be the best at the thing, then there you go. But disappearing stuff is a thing right now. Twitter has been testing their own disappearing tweets, essentially a Stories mode, a 24-hour auto time bomb. I don't know. It's not something that appeals to me, but I look at the world from a content creator standpoint. So the idea of time-bombed content is strange. But
I mean, unless you know you're going to be embarrassed about it later, and if you're going to be embarrassed about it later, you probably shouldn't be sending it or posting it now.
Don't post it in the first place. Exactly. That's you and I are on the same page on that one, friend.
Yeah.
This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. We're all doing a whole lot more time online, and protecting your identity and your browsing history is an important part of being online these days. And a VPN like PureVPN is a great way to do that because it obfuscates your browsing history from the likes of Facebook and Google, as well as your ISP. It allows you to get to things that you may not be able to get to natively, whether it be location locked or something like that. And right now, we've got a 2-year plan available for $3.33 a month instead of the normal $10.95. And on top of that, there's also a 31-day money-back guarantee. So if it turns out to not be for you, no worries, you're not out anything. And to give this a shot and find out more about the platform, you can go to piltchpoint.live/purevpn. So before we get started with this, because we're going to do a bit of a show and tell, I want to remind people that if you are listening and not watching, and you would like to see the show and tell that we are about to do, you can go to piltchpoint.live and look for this episode. You'll be able to see what Avram's about to show off. And with that, Avram, what have you got for us tonight?
I'll narrate this as best I can because I know that some folks will be listening, and I appreciate that because I like to listen to podcasts also. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about, and you can see it on screen if you can see, the new Dell XPS 13 9300. So this is the latest version of Dell's flagship laptop. It just went on sale a couple weeks ago, and I just got it into review on Friday and still testing it, but we'll definitely have a review up this week. If you're not familiar with the Dell XPS 13, it is by many people considered the industry leader in lightweight laptops. It starts at 2.64 pounds and without a touchscreen, and 2.8 with a touchscreen, so very light. It is 0.58 inches thick, which is very thin, which means that it has does not have full-size USB ports. So if you want thin and a full-size USB port, don't get this laptop. If you're willing to, to carry a dongle, it does have Thunderbolt ports on either side, one of which it can use for charging. What's improved, I mean, the XPS 13 has been around for a number of years. What's improved in this design is that Dell has finally solved the webcam problem that prior XPSs had. If you are familiar with prior XPS 13s, they had what we affectionately called a nose cam. Rather than having the webcam in the traditional place, which is in the center top bezel of the screen, because the top bezel is so thin, Dell couldn't fit it there, so they put it all the way down in the bottom bezel. So if you were using the laptop and you were in the middle of, you were staring at it and wanting to do a video conference, it would be looking up at you, like up your nose. The way to avoid that would be to, sit the laptop on a pile of books while you're talking, or use an external webcam. But with the new XPS 13, Dell has managed to create a really, really super thin webcam that fits into the top bezel and has solved that problem. So good for Dell. This XPS, the new XPS 13s have Intel 10th generation 10 nanometer processors. That means that these are among the first to use 10 nanometer. Although we've been seeing 10 nanometers since the fall, but that's definitely the latest and greatest. A lot of laptops are still on 14 nanometer processors. Does it really matter for performance? We'll let you know when we test. Generally, the 10 nanometer hasn't performed any better than the 14 but overall. The one that I am showing the folks who are watching on video has the top of the line Core i7 165 G7 processor that can go up to 3.9 gigahertz. This laptop is has another neat feature that is brand new for this year, which is that the aspect ratio of the screen has now changed from traditional 16 by 9 to 16 by 10, and that allows for it to come in two different screen resolutions you don't see a lot, which is you see 1920 by 1200 as the base, and then 3840 by 2400 as the high end. That means that you have most screens and monitors are 16 by 9, which means they're 1920 by 1080 or 3840 by 2160 for the 4K. These give you more vertical real estate, which is nice, because that means that you'll see more on web pages without scrolling, and you'll see more when you're editing documents without scrolling, and that's definitely a huge plus. Most screens have been made to sort of match what Hollywood does, which is 16 by 9, but Dell has made a nice step forward here in going to 1610. Of course, Microsoft on the Surface does 3.2, which is even more vertical. But this is a pretty neat laptop. The keyboard feels really good. The screen is super bright. The one that I'm showing folks here has the 1920 by 1200 touchscreen, and it is rated for 500 nits of brightness, which is just ridiculously bright, and 100% coverage of the sRGB color gamut, which is also fantastic. Still waiting on the results from the battery test. We would expect prior XPS 13s did really well, so I will hope and expect that this gets 10 hours plus. which would again be fantastic. So that's just a quick look at the Dell XPS 13, which now is available on Dell for starting at $1249. The model I'm showing folks, which has the Core i7, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD, and the touchscreen goes for about $1749. So it really depends on what specs you want, but this is definitely going to be a pretty compelling choice up there with other lightweight laptops like HP's Spectre X360, which is a convertible but very light. And if you're willing to get a business laptop, still the ThinkPad X1 Carbon is a great choice. That's the laptop I personally use, and so that's just a quick look at the new XPS 13.
And I have to say that the look of it, just through the screen, the look of it is impressive. But the thing that I was most impressed by was the fact that even with such a super bright screen like that, that it isn't ruining the webcam. Like, you know, in the past when we've done these, sometimes a screen that's super bright will mess with the camera. This isn't doing that, which means that they're backlighting it differently, which might also account for how nice the screens on these new models are.
I mean,
God,
Dell,
so
with these XPS 13s, going back a long way, has had really excellent screens. The screen quality on these is fantastic. They call them Infinity Edge displays because they have almost no bezel at all on the top, the left, and the right. And now on the bottom as well, there's almost no bezel. So, you know, by having a less of a frame around the screen, it also really makes the images pop more. It's definitely a beautiful screen to look at. I imagine that the 4K screen, which is not on the review model I have, which promises to do HDR 400, is going to cover 90% of the DCI-P3 color gamut, which is a wider gamut than sRGB, will be even more impressive to look at.
Wow. Well, I'm impressed by the look of it, even through the camera, which is impressive. I gotta tell you, the look of the Dell laptops these last couple of generations really has been stunning. I have one sitting on my desk as well. I don't know all the specs on it. In fact, I know none of the specs on it yet. I haven't had it long enough.
Is yours the frost white color as well?
No.
Is yours the white?
No, mine is black and silver, like a deep silver.
Yes. Right. Yes. So, I think this one has like the gold colored lid that I'm showing folks here. So it comes in two colors. It comes in what's known as Alpine White, which has like this white deck and keyboard, and if one could look really closely at it, you'd see that there's kind of a texture, a hard texture on the wrist, in the palm rest area. Now, depending on which configuration you get, you might actually have to pay $50 more for the white model. I don't know that I would actually get the white model, because the other model, which is the other color, which is silver on the lid and sides and bottom, but black on the inside, the black is carbon fiber. At least it traditionally has been, which means that it is very, very soft and like really pleasant to touch and pleasant to put your wrists on for typing. This is kind of a hard plastic, the white one. So I know when Dell first added the white, which was I think 1 or 2 generations ago, folks were impressed because hey, people were getting tired of seeing the same silver and black look across like many generations of this product. But I think that the carbon fiber palm rest was better, and that's what I would recommend to somebody. Now, I wish that they would try some other color schemes, but you know how it is. Manufacturers are afraid to get too risky, to take too many risks with color schemes uh, because strong colors don't sell well, or they're afraid that they won't.
Right.
They say, "Oh, everybody wants to see us make red and blue and orange and green," and then they go back to buying gray and white. Um, I think HP has done a fantastic job of integrating color into their Spectre X360 series. You can get this kind of a dark metallic blue color on it, which looks fantastic. So, kudos to them. But a lot of people really like the look of this white and gold color scheme. But just for a matter of comfort, because of the soft palm rest, if I were getting an XPS 13, I would go for the other color scheme, which gives you black carbon fiber wrist rest, which is nice and soft, and then silver top and bottom.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's the configuration I have. I will point out that Microsoft has also done a good job with integrating color in the Surface laptops, because that cobalt blue I love. If I was getting a Surface laptop tomorrow, cobalt blue is the color I would go with.
Yes, I'd like to see more personally. I like to see more blue laptops. And I don't think we ever see a green laptop. Have you seen a green laptop?
The HP, that $150 Windows 10s thing, but that was like a kid's school machine.
Right.
But outside of that, no.
Yeah, those things usually when you see color, like a color on a laptop like blue, red, it's usually on a really cheap laptop. Yeah. It's usually on like a kid's one, or one that's like $400, and they're trying to make the laptop stand out by selling it in bright colors, and that's unfortunate, because if you really want a good quality laptop, you're not going to go for that. It's one of those things. Like, I used to really want to buy a phone with a physical keyboard, and there are phones with physical keyboards out there, but if you want one, you have to settle for a cheap, not as good phone. Sorry, BlackBerry.
I was just gonna say.
So, those are the best that you can get with keyboards.
Right.
I think there's still some others out there that are like sliders that are super duper cheap. But if you want the best, you can't have a bright color, and if you want the best phone, you can't have a physical keyboard.
Yeah, and to be fair, on the BlackBerry thing, TCL just gave up their licensing, so you won't see those anymore either.
Yeah, I know. There's, yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, almost nobody wanted them.
Plus, TCL's making their own phones under their own brand, so I'm not surprised they're not white labeling anymore. Anyway, that's a whole different topic. Anyway, that's an awesome laptop. I am excited that I also have one sitting on my desk. It's a 15, not a 13, but it does have that carbon fiber inside, which I like. And I did not realize that the other configuration was different. So I'm glad that I have the one that I have. I guess it's like the Surface laptop, right? Where the black and the gold are regular metal, and then the other three are that other material, that custom Microsoft material. It depends on the color.
Alcantara.
So, that's it.
I think it's also used in car upholstery.
Yeah, I think so. But nobody else is using it on a laptop, I guess is the point. So anyway, so obviously you've got it in your possession. So You're working on a review on it. What can we expect on that
this week?
This week?
This week, we're benchmarking it. It's a somewhat of a coronavirus challenge because we normally have people in our lab who help us do this testing, and they have the colorimeter that we use to do the screen testing, and then we know what, to be really technical about it, they also have to get the brightness exact 150, figure out what 150 nits is, what setting 150 nits is, because that's where we're in the battery test at. So fortunately, we got another copy of this laptop, or rather our colleagues at Laptop Mag, which is the same parent company as us, got another copy of this laptop, and I think they're sending it to the lab person in her house to test.
Wow.
So I can't write it up until I get the test numbers from there, because I don't have the colorimeter that costs $7,000, and I'm not going to buy one for this period. So it's one of those things that we had to work out. How are we going to test laptops, particularly laptop screens?
Yeah.
Because benchmarks, sure, I have the software, I can run benchmarks, no problem, but something that requires special equipment, not everybody can do.
Right.
We don't have that many versions of.
Sure, that makes sense. You mean you don't have just like an army of $7,000 test equipment just hanging around?
I mean, I wish we did.
Right.
Yeah, so.
But it's good that you have a plan.
We have one person who has it. Yeah, I mean, that was our, when we found out our office was closing, I personally said to the head of our lab, which we share lab resources with, Laptop Mag and Tom's Guide, and I said, we got to have a meeting about this right away to figure out how we're going to do these things.
Yeah.
And and fortunately for us at Tom's Hardware, most of our key reviews are done by people who have the by writers who have the equipment in their house. Our CPU guy has all the equipment in his house. Our GPU editor has all the equipment he needs to test GPUs in his house. But for laptops, that's where we run into some issues, and so so while I would love to have a review of it up tomorrow, I gotta wait some of their results, and
sure.
So I got it on Friday. I haven't gotten to do a ton of playing with it this weekend yet, but it looks very promising.
Well, very cool. I definitely look forward to seeing the review when it publishes, and comparing it to my experience with my new machine as well, which is fun to have that. And of course, we mentioned it earlier, but we'll mention it again. Tom's Hardware is doing the folding at home challenge against their sister site. So if you're doing folding at home and you're not already on a team, or you would like to help Avram beat his colleague, join team 40051.
That's right. Help us beat a non-tech. We have to beat them.
We are going to be publishing from Amrock about it as well tomorrow morning. So doing
Great.
what we can for you, buddy. And we will see what we got next week. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. All the accessories you need to up your game on both PC and console are available from Razer. Whether you're looking for a new keyboard and a mouse, a controller for your PC or console, or even an entire gaming rig like the Razer Blade 15, you can find all of it at Razer. And you can find all the deals that are running, including from the warehouse and the refurb department by going to f5live.tv/razor. You know, that's one of the places I haven't looked to see if there are webcams is there. As I was looking while we were talking earlier.
The Keo is the Razer Keo is our top choice of things that you have a shot of actually buying.
Okay. Well, their
webcam is good.
I can tell you for sure that there is a notify me button on the website for the Keo right now. So
I think people picked up on that. I noticed that we talked before about webcams selling out. When I last checked, Dell.com did not say that they were out of any of the Logitech webcams, which they claim to have. But I don't know whether that is just not showing that they're out of it or that they actually have stock.
Sure. That makes sense. Well,
so
interesting. Well, speaking of game retail, this week has been an interesting one for one retailer, GameStop, who has had a rough go of it the last couple of years. They've definitely suffered from the digital download increases on the PS4 and the Xbox One, competition from Steam and Epic on the PC, and then they made the weird decision to shut down the physical stores for the brand that was doing well, ThinkGeek, and try and integrate them into the GameStop stores. All very strange, but none of it compares to the weirdness that was this week, as cities and states across the United States have gone into complete shutdown, requiring that only essential retail may remain open, basically meaning grocery stores and pharmacies. GameStop decided, no, it's not just grocery stores and pharmacies. We are essential retail too, because, I don't know, we have keyboards. Their reasoning was bizarre, but firm. So firm that they sent a document to all their store managers to hand to law enforcement to allow them to argue that they needed to remain open.
Awkward.
Can you imagine being the manager of a GameStop and law enforcement shows up at your door and says, hey, we know everybody loves the Switch, but y'all got to get out. And you hand them a letter that says, I can't talk to you about this. Call my corporate office. I can guarantee nobody went through with that. They said, yes, officer, door is locked.
So this leads me to an interesting question, which I don't know if you have the answer to, which is, so there, to go over this again for our viewers and listeners, GameStop seemed to think that they are an essential service because they sell equipment that people could use to work from home. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're scratching your head as to how a store called GameStop could be something that helps people work, you're not alone.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a stretch under which you could say, well, they have mice, they have keyboards, maybe they have mouse pads or wrist rests or something there. Okay, people might maybe they have webcams.
Just thinking
that might actually be a good place to get your webcam. I don't know. The last time I was there, I wasn't looking for any of that stuff. I mean, their PC offerings are not very substantial at any GameStop I've ever seen. But they might have like a gaming keyboard or something. But that's a real stretch. I guess this leads me to a different question, though, which is, does that make Staples an essential business? Because Staples at least is made for business, right? Does that mean it's okay for them to stay open? Are they an essential business? I mean, I don't think that they should get to stay open, but I don't know if they can claim that.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm with you.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't been driving around trying to see who's open and who's not. Uh, I do live in an area where they've said that all non-essential businesses should close. Obviously, there's very few businesses that will admit that they're not essential. We're
True.
essential.
True.
But look, there, like, for the folks working at home like myself, if your keyboard breaks and you don't have another one, you could be quite unproductive.
Sure.
Now, but still, you could make that argument about a lot of things. I think we were talking in the introduction to this about, like, what happens if my glasses break?
Sure.
Right? I mean, there's a lot of, I was talking over dinner with my family that my dentist had shut down. What if someone has a dental emergency? Even my dentist, which is, like, I would consider that medical,
right?
Has decided to shut down. So, and I guess if you're going to take social distancing seriously, you have to take a very liberal view of what's not essential.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of things that absolutely cannot be shut down. So, you have to, not as many things as possible have to shut down. Now, GameStop is nowhere even on the borderline of being essential at all.
Yeah.
Like, if you could even make the argument that says, like, Staples is essential, or whatever, because it carries business supplies and people can ship. Because I know, like, I think UPS stores and FedEx stores are still open.
But I think
or
they're
at
doing
least some of them are.
I think they're doing drop at the door.
But you can't. You can no way argue that GameStop is essential. Now, I honestly don't know how strictly these, like, essential, non-essential things are being enforced. Like, are they sending police around to close it down, or are they mostly counting on people to comply voluntarily?
So apparently,
but not in the case of GameStop.
I think in the case of GameStop, I believe Kotaku was the brand, the publication that called store managers in California to talk to them about what was going on, and they said absolutely law enforcement had been at their doors telling them to go home. So apparently, yes, law enforcement is going around trying to enforce these rules. And okay, so here's the thing. The end result of this is that after many publications wrote about it, GameStop has changed their policy. They are now doing curbside pickup. Nobody's allowed in the store, except employees. So they have technically closed.
Pickup of what?
Online orders. For example, there are 2 stores in my area that have webcams. So.
Oh, okay. So guess what, folks? This might be if you can trust. I've had stuff where if you can trust that if they say they have something, they actually have it.
True.
Although I guess they'll email. Presumably they'll email you a confirmation that they have it. But I mean, the thing is, okay, I guess that's one thing that people could use. Although, if they just did remote, like, mail orders, that would be fine, right?
Yep. Yeah, but that's going to leave a lot of inventory. That's going to leave inventory in stores for things that might be high demand, like webcams.
That's true. Like, if they don't have it in the warehouse, but they do have it at your store, then you wouldn't get it. Also, let's keep in mind that what we haven't talked about really is that GameStop is on death's door. And GameStop was on death's door before the coronavirus was a
Long
thing.
before.
So there was a story in Polygon about a month ago called GameStop employees report extreme pressure from desperate bosses. And it talks about how the company is trying to like pressure pressure people into like customers into like buying used phones, like things that people don't want from a GameStop, right? Like they're trying to pressure people into all kinds of selling all kinds of stuff because their business model is dead, right? Like
Yeah.
their business model is
Old.
like, I mean, a lot of people like going into a GameStop because hey, it's a place where games are. But I think GameStop's biggest mistake was when they bought ThinkGeek. They didn't change the whole store to ThinkGeek instead of making ThinkGeek into GameStop.
Yep, they definitely
Like,
went the wrong way with
there's
that.
there's a brand that actually has value, right? Like, I mean, I guess it didn't have as much value because they shut down the website for it, but like they had unique stuff that was like oriented towards lifestyle, and it wasn't going anywhere. Like, whereas physical games are dying,
Yeah.
and there's like no really compelling need to go into the store. I mean, I often have gone to GameStop to buy used stuff, but very often, it's not significantly cheaper than getting something new, and it's definitely not cheaper than buying a pre-owned game on eBay or someplace like that. So I don't see how like GameStop continues. And then this was, there was an analyst who said they were going to close 1,000 stores this year, probably. Or a former store manager said they think they're going to close 1,000 stores this year. That was before coronavirus.
Yeah.
So my guess is GameStop is done.
Yeah.
And that is probably why GameStop is taking this measure, because they realize
if
that this is probably the last time they'll see GameStop.
Their fear was if they locked the doors, they would never unlock them again.
And I think their fear is justified.
I do too.
But too bad, unfortunately. I mean, it is sad that these stores are going to go away.
Yeah. But
but
so did Radio Shack, and the desperate things that Polygon was talking about GameStop trying to do is the things that the post Julian Day Radio Shack tried to do to keep their lights on. It's the same kind of desperate measures, and ironically, GameStop bought EB Games, which was founded by Radio Shack. So it is interesting that the Tandy curse seems to have followed across EB Games into GameStop. But I mean, some business models are temporary. Especially in the technology space, as technology changes, some business models just don't make sense anymore. And used physical copies of games, the joke has always been that for a $60 game, GameStop will basically give you a handshake and kick you out, and then turn around and sell it for $53 instead of $59. But you can jump on the Facebook Marketplace or Poshmark or the one that starts with an M, whose name I can't remember, or something like that, and sell it for $30, and that's way more than GameStop was going to give you. Or you find one of your local stores. We've got a great one here, M&M Games, that gives you way more than GameStop does for trading in a game. And you're supporting a local company, and you don't have any of that weird pressure coming from
I'm worried about
death spiral.
Now, I'll tell you, I'm worried about stores like the one you mentioned, that actually are trying. I'm also worried about my favorite store, which is Micro Center, where now if you don't live on the East Coast, I don't think you have Micro Center. but they have them up and down the East Coast. I think there's like maybe 25
something like that
stores in total. In the New York area, we've got like 5 or 6 of them. It is. I really hope that they can recover from this, because that is a real computer store that you can go to, and you want to try a keyboard, they've got like 30 of them on the wall. You want to buy, like, it's better than CompUSA ever was, because it's designed for people who actually know about computers and are discerning. It has an entire electronics section where they've just got all kinds of ridiculous electronics for you to build kits, soldering irons, Raspberry Pis, Arduinos, like anything that you need for your project, and very often cheaper than online. So I hope the stores that provide real value to people are able to come back after this. Unfortunately, I don't think people are going to miss GameStop that much.
There's a small contingency. First of all, I have to tell you, I'm impressed. There are exactly 25 stores, although there is one in California. But
I thought it was like 20, between 20 and 25. So
25 is the count. Yeah. They've got a drop-down list of all their locations. 25 is the count. But there's a small contingency of people who love GameStop and pretend that it's still the company that it was 10 years ago, which it is not. But yeah, for the most part, the gamer community has given up on GameStop, which is, it's created that catch-22 death spiral, right? The community gives up on it a little bit, so they get desperate, which makes more people give up on it, which makes them more desperate, and eventually their own desperation closes their doors. And I think in the end, that is where we will be. And like you said, other than the small contingency of people who continue to support and have vocally supported GameStop's weird decisions this week online, small percentage. Other than them, yeah, I don't think anybody's going to miss it. But if you're looking for a webcam, apparently they still have them. This week's news from the tubes and F5 Live is proudly powered by RiffTrax. Make fun of movies, or let these guys do it for you. Mike Nelson, Bill Corbett, and Kevin Murphy, the former stars of Mystery Science Theater 3000, are back and doing what they do best, making fun of creating commentaries for Hollywood blockbusters and B-movie oddities like Ninja Warlord. Oh, that guy has no teeth. The way it works is, for a couple of dollars, you download the MP3, play it along with your DVD, Amazon, Netflix, wherever the movie happens to live, and laugh. They also do live events. They theoretically have 2 of them scheduled for 2020. We will see how that works out as time goes on. Maybe they won't be in movie theaters, but whatever. We will see after the live events. They show up on the site as well, in addition to all the short films like they used to do on MST3K. And to find out what feature films, what short films, and what live events are available, you can go to f5live.tv/rifftrax with an X. Oh my goodness, this movie is called Velvet Smooth. All right. Definitely time to close that. So, interestingly, back on the Facebook topic, while on the Instagram side, they are adding disappearing chats, which, whatever. On the Facebook side, about a year ago, they announced that there was a redesigned version of the web app coming. They showed it off at F8 last year in pretty big detail, but that was the extent of the information that was given. There was no timeline for release. There was nothing. And then this week, whoop, all of a sudden people started getting the new UI without warning for some people, which is interesting. And then for many, it requires you to opt in If you want to opt in, it is under the user menu in the top right corner, which looks like the little triangle. If you click that, I think it's the second from the last option, says switch to new Facebook. Know that the new Facebook is basically the mobile app in web form, the much more the Android app than the iOS app, because the tabs are at the top, not the bottom. But it has a very familiar feel for those who use the mobile app a lot. And I think that one of the reasons why it was released right now is a lot of people who are used to using the mobile app are about to sit down at the desktop app for the first time in a while because they're going to be home more. What do you think? Because the timing's weird.
Yeah, quite possibly. You know, looking at it, which I got a chance to do just today, I think comparing it to the mobile app is probably fair. What I don't like, and this is probably the same, one of the things I haven't liked about some of Microsoft's first-party apps as well, and some of the ones that they've encouraged to the Microsoft Store, is that the density of text seems less. It seems like there's less content on the screen and more, more open space, more icons for things, less text. And that's consistent with the touchscreen experience. Like, oh, great. If you're touching on a touchscreen, you know, your finger's big. You don't want tiny piece of text. But I'm using this with a keyboard and mouse. And yeah, I don't like the new look. It's too, I don't know, just it looks like everything's blown up. It looks like the Fisher Price version of the interface.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. I've been trying to put it into words because I generally don't think I'm fond of it either. Now, to be fair, there's a reason why I said most people will see an option under the menu. It's because I do not, which is interesting. I have 3 different Facebook accounts for various reasons, and none of them have the option, which I found fascinating. But Avram has the option, and Terry Willingham, who's been on the show a number of times, she had it, and so I've been experimenting today through her. And I had it a couple of months ago in an early preview, and yeah, it feels like it feels like the Fisher Price version of Facebook. Like it's not like it's an easy bake oven. It looks kind of like an oven, but it doesn't really work like one.
Look, Facebook has become sort of like McDonald's. Everybody eats there, but nobody really loves it. Everybody uses Facebook. Everybody uses Facebook, but I've not met a person yet who really likes it. I use it all the time. I shouldn't, I'm not proud of it, because, my friends and relatives are on there, but, I don't know too many people who are like, yeah, Facebook, we really love Facebook and we're real boosters of the Facebook brand. So I don't know what Facebook could do to really please people at this point. Well, I mean, maybe they could talk about some of their fact-checking stuff and some of their community policies and things that have really been controversial. But anywho, as far as with their UI, like whatever works. I mean, I like the old way because it's more dense with text. I like stuff. Maybe it's because I'm old school. Maybe it's because I'm primarily using a keyboard and mouse. I like things that sort of pack more into a smaller space so I can really, pick what I want, absorb what I want. And it's trying to be too cute. The other thing is a lot of those top icons that they have are for things that I never use. Like, in the new version, they have an icon for games, right? Like they don't have that. So like if I look at it now, I can switch back and I can toggle back and forth. So I can go back, right? And if I toggle back and forth, which one thing I do like about the new version of the new UI is you can have a dark mode, which is nice. So it's got this like chunky top nav here, which has like links to like 4 things that I like, a bunch of stuff that I like almost never use. It links to watch, marketplace, groups, and gaming, while the notifications and messaging stuff is off to the far right, kind of lost in the corner. And you got to know what these icons stand for, although I guess it's easy enough to figure out eventually. So now, I'm not really
now in fairness,
not a fan.
In fairness, the mobile app has the same icons, and if you're on Android, they're in the same place. If you're on iOS, it's the tabs across the bottom. And for me, on the mobile app, the more I use different parts of the system, those tabs have changed. The 5 that show up as the primary ones at the bottom have changed over time. So I'm wondering if the web app will work the same way, because the tabs that are my primaries on iOS are different from the tabs that are my primaries on Android, which I find fascinating because it definitely shows that I use my devices for different things. Because one is definitely for show-related things and one is definitely for more personal things. And so the tabs that are there are different. Because on Android, I've got one of the 5 is Facebook dating, and that is not on my iOS one at all. So it's possible that the web UI will start to learn the things that you care about and change those things, but I don't know. But who knows with time what might happen. Because
just to put some numbers against this, it's about 85 pixels. The classic version gives you about 85 pixels more content on the bottom of the page.
Okay.
That's exact. I was just measuring it. It came out like 88 pixels of more content on the bottom of the page.
And is that just
when you start?
Is that just UI overhead differences, or is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, because there's the thick bar. There's some unnecessary space between, like, I guess I'm talking about when you're on someone's page. So
okay,
I guess I could go to like a feed and see. The other thing that I really don't like is how, like, for example, when I look at your, I'm on your page on Facebook, right?
Okay.
Where it has your little profile picture. On the classic version, it's off to the left of your, what do you call it, your banner photo. But on the new one, it's right in the center, covering up the middle of your banner.
Oh.
So
that's important to know for graphics.
Yeah, so if you care about the, people looking at the, the banner picture, it completely obscures the middle of the picture.
Okay. So on mine, it's probably covering up 2 of the students because it's the picture from Roboticon.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. So I guess previously it was covering the ones in the corner, and now it's covering the ones in the middle.
Okay. Yeah, I think the way I cropped it kept it from covering, but I think 1 student. But yeah, interesting. Okay. Well, that's important to know for creating custom graphics and stuff. But yeah, so if you want to give it a try, give it a try. As Avram has said, he had the ability to switch back. And that's unless you were forced into it, which I know at least one person that I know was forced into the new UI, and they don't seem to have the switch back option. You should be able to switch. for now, who knows in the future when they roll this out to everybody as the replacement UI, what that'll look like, but at least you can prepare for it, I guess. This week's DRM Not Included in F5 Live is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. In addition to your free shipping, there are some free entertainment things that you get right now, including Amazon Prime Music, which gives you free music streaming, Amazon Prime Video, which gives you TV, movies, documentaries, both original and licensed content, and you get, with Twitch Prime, you get free video games, and you get the ability to help the streamer of your choice financially by subscribing to their channel for free, which obviously right now for those people who make money online, whether it be PLUGHITZ Live or your other favorite streamers, that little bit can always help. So definitely take advantage of your free subscription and all of your other free benefits that come with a Prime subscription, which we have listed for you. And if you're not already a Prime subscriber, we've got a 30-day free trial, all available by going to f5live.tv/prime. So real quick before we end the show, just wanted to let people know that the entertainment companies are really responding to what's going on right now. They know that people are going to be stuck at home, and they're changing their business practices. We've seen Microsoft has put some extra games into, and this isn't necessarily in our article, this is just things that are in my head right now. Microsoft has added extra games to Game Pass Ultimate, and they're giving free DLC now. GOG.com has added more free games that you can get from the platform. Venues and bars are doing live streams with donations for local musicians and even drag performers. I had somebody message me with a link yesterday. They're like, hey, our local gay bar is doing drag performances on Facebook Live. I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's going in the article, isn't it? And we're seeing movies that either are supposed to release in the next couple of weeks or have released recently. Everything from Pixar's Onward to Birds of Prey, Disney's Frozen 2, either skipping the theaters.
Frozen 2 is on...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say Frozen 2 is on Disney+.
Yes. It was not supposed to be on Disney+ until sometime next month. They pulled it for digital early. So things are either coming to streaming services or available for rental or purchase early, far earlier than they're supposed to be. I mean, Onward was available for purchase, I think 16 days after it hit theaters, which is obviously insane.
So it's interesting that you bring this up because we were talking about this in my house last night, and this Onward in particular, my son and I had seen a trailer for it the last time we went to the movies, which will probably be the last time we go to the movies for a very long time, which is when we went to see the Sonic movie.
Okay.
Which was actually much better than it had any right to be. But we saw the trailer for Onward, and it looked really cool. So I mentioned it to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I want, let's watch it." And I looked, and it's like, "Yeah, I can't rent this though. It's $20. Mm-hmm. So, you have to buy it." So, I said to him, I'm like, "Sorry, we got to wait till you can rent it." And he was like, well, why not? So one calculus I think movie studios are making is, hey, we're not going to get your ticket dollar, but if you had gone to the theater to see this, you would have paid more than $20, unless you went by yourself on a matinee or something. Because like here in New York, even like a single person is like $12, $13. When my son and I went to see Sonic, we didn't buy any popcorn and we paid like $25 to go see it. So, I mean, movies are ridiculously expensive. So if you go by the premise that people go to the movies not because they want to go out or be in the theater or see it on the theater size screen, but because they want to see the movie right now and they can't wait, um, then I guess $20 to see the movie is okay. My thing though is, I think we're all concerned about the economy right now.
Right.
Like, it seems kind of luxurious to spend $20 on a movie.
Absolutely.
Rather than wait a few months and then maybe I can rent it for $4 or something.
Right.
So I don't know how that calculus is going to work out. Are people going to? I mean, we could have a whole big segment on this, but do you remember there was a thing a few years ago, right? With like, or even earlier, this wasn't it like last year where they were going to have something where they sold first run movies to people for $50 a pop or something, and
oh yeah, I had forgotten about that.
I forgot the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The audience, maybe someone in the audience knows what I'm talking about. There have been many attempts over the years to say, okay, we want to allow people at home to see first run movies, like while they're in the theater and maybe even day and date when they come out. But we have to, we have to make it really expensive because otherwise we're just cannibalizing the movie theater. Now, I think that uh, this is going to could be an inflection point for studios, where studios have generally said, like, well, listen, we gotta please our partners in the theater companies.
Yep.
If we release stuff on video the same time released in the theater, we cannibalize theater box office sales, and nobody wins.
It's known as the theater window.
Right. I was going to say the window, right? So now, I mean, you've had things that were sort of like Netflix things, like The Irishman or whatever, where they released it in the theater for a few people, I guess, just because they could, but they were going really straight to Netflix.
It wasn't because they could. It was because if they didn't, they weren't eligible
because of Academy Awards. Right. But I mean, I think there were some other things that Netflix has released where maybe they were hoping they'd be nominated or something. But the point is, you got to wonder now whether this is going to become somewhat of a new normal. And there's a lot of movies where the studios having to make a difficult decision. I was reading yesterday about Wonder Woman 1984, and there was apparently been some discussion about whether Wonder Woman 1984 would go straight to video. Now, or are they going to delay it? And if they delay it, they have to delay it a really long time, because not just because we don't know when it's going to be safe to go back to the movie theater again, but because even if you say we feel like this coronavirus situation is going to be over by the Christmas season, well, still, there's a whole lot of movies that are lined up to launch at that time, and studios don't like to put.
And are you going to be able to get screen real estate? Because there's already stuff scheduled for that time.
Or are you going to compete with yourself, right? Because there's
True.
Always a feeling that if you have another big movie coming out at that time, you don't want two of your big movies to come out the same weekend.
Right.
So that's why Fast and Furious 9 delayed for a year, right? Like they were going to come out in April, and rather than say, hey, we're going to come out in the fall, which is what James Bond was A Bad Time to Die, No Time to Die, whatever it is, was going to come out like in April or May, and now it's going to come out in November. But Fast and Furious, they didn't have that window, and so I don't know what that will mean for some of the movies that we really want to see this summer, like the new Ghostbusters movie and Wonder Woman 1984. Are they going to go straight to video? Are they just going to hold them in the can for maybe a year? You know, I for one have been really looking forward to Wonder Woman, so I hope they release it on video, but it's probably not good business for them to do that.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of movies have to make that decision. A Quiet Place 2 is delayed indefinitely right now because of the same thing. They don't want to put it up against something against itself, essentially. So it's an interesting market right now. And like you said, this might be the thing that finally breaks the theater window on a wider basis. It'll be interesting to see what the end result of this is. But, you know, across the entertainment industry, we have seen a ton of, what's the one that's not the other one? I know that's a stupid thing to say out loud. Sling TV just released a free version of Sling. You know, there's all kinds of media companies who are responding to this in a way that that can help. So that's good to see. And like you said, the end result of all this could be a very different entertainment landscape come the fall or next spring. So only time will tell there. And that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. We always appreciate it. If you didn't and would like to in the future, you can always go to f5live.tv/join us on Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern. Chat with us in the studio. Give us your feedback as we talk about the topics. Also, if you are listening, maybe on the radio or something like that, and you would like to see the show, whether it be for the hands-on that Avram did with the laptop earlier or something like that, you can always go to f5live.tv or piltchpoint.live, and you can actually see the show. You can see the laptop that Avram showed off. And you can also see all of our other shows by going to PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe and see our CES coverage and a whole lot more. And I guess with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we will see you guys back next time. Ciao.